What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Did y'all see that? What?
Let's just throw Scream 6 in there for like
It
my
was good.
favorite movie. It was really good. The best of the franchise, in my opinion, since the first one.
Yeah.
Devin Cecchetto, welcome inside the crazy ant farm. How are ya?
I'm great.
Oh my goodness, we are so excited to talk to you. We are huge fans of the show, and I love the direction season 3 is going in. We are definitely going to jump in the pond and talk all about all the good stuff. We cannot wait to do that. But you have so many other things we want to talk about too. How you got started, the singing, a film that you did that intrigued me immensely, and we're going to talk about that. Just so many. She's like, wait a minute.
Wonder which one that could be.
Okay.
But anyway, how we like to kick this whole thing off is for anybody that might not be familiar with your work yet or hasn't seen you or anything. We kind of just to give a little bit about how you got started in the industry. Was it something you knew you always wanted to do? Is it kind of fall into it? What was the deal?
I think that, I think it's something I always knew I wanted to do. When I was 6, I turned to my dad and I said that I wanted to be a famous opera singer. And my family is not in this world at all. And he looked at me like I had like a million heads and was like, what? And he was like, okay, whatever you want to do. But I think it was because my nonna we used to sing Ave Maria all the time. So I think it went back to like my Italian roots of being connected to singing and opera.
Yeah.
So I did, when I was younger, do a Canadian Children's Opera Company. And then I used to tour with an opera company whenever they need little kids. We used to do Carmen and all those kind of things. And then it slowly started to shift a bit more. I mean, I sang the national anthem a lot. And I think I always was like, oh man, like I would love to be a singer. But then music theater kind of got introduced to me, which then I was like, oh, I get to actually like sing as a different person than myself. And I found that way more easy. I don't know. And so I think I kind of that's kind of how I fell into the acting side of things, because I was like, it's way easier to take on another role and have the perspective of being somebody else as opposed to creating how I personally feel.
Right.
And then as I've kind of aged, I've now come to a point where I'm like, no, it actually would be really interesting to speak about how I personally feel in whatever capacity I can share that with. But yeah, so I did music theater for a really long time and have a degree in music theater. And then kind of like started performing my own stuff and releasing my own stuff, but was kind of doing more of like a pop girly thing.
Yeah.
And now I'm moving forward in terms of maybe doing a little bit more indie. I'm hopefully having a single come out soonish, which I actually really love, but I've spent a lot of time down in LA working with a lot of different people. And it's actually really hard to release your own stuff, like way harder than someone being like I'm so happy to step into other people's roles. Like, for example, The Way Home, like stepping into the character of Evelyn, I'm like, that makes me feel so freeing because it's someone else's story.
Right.
I haven't quite mastered my own yet. So that's where I'm at.
I love that too, because we're all just going through this thing we call life, trying to navigate where we're going to end up and all of our lessons that we've gathered and learned from throughout our whole experience. So since starting so young on stage, do you ever feel like with particular characters throughout your career, do you ever feel like you've always kept some of those characters with you throughout your life, and to where like in some certain instances you'd be like, oh, I bet she would do this, or I bet she would do this?
That is a really interesting question. I do know that a lot of music theater songs, like I'd usually play the more of like the leads or the ingenue, who's like the young, budding, always curious, looking for more kind of character. And I remember somebody that I was seeing at the time was like, why do you have like such a big spirit or like such a big energy? And I was like, I think it's because these like hero or heroine songs are like something like from Pretty Women. What's the one that she sings? Astonishing.
Right.
Or The Little Mermaid, like Part of Your World, or Newsies, Watch What Happens. Like it's all of these huge pieces where this small woman gets to have this turning point where they get to sing so like big about how they want to move forward in their life and how they want to create change. So I think that has like influenced my spirit almost in terms of constantly seeking more, almost
Hmm.
like I feel like I'm constantly going through the journey of like what's it called, coming of age, even
Yeah.
though I
Right.
should be of age, but like I just am not there yet. I don't
I
know.
get that.
But then I have had characters too that have stuck with me for a while in the wrong ways and needing to shed them,
Mm.
because they kind of pulled out parts of myself that I wasn't quite happy about. And going through that journey is also tricky as well. So it's interesting. Yeah.
That I love that because you talk. I think actors often talk so much about how they bring a little bit of themselves into the character, but not nearly the opposite of bringing the character into them. And maybe I feel like a lot for method actors who get stuck, right, and it does take you down a bad rabbit hole of, wait a minute, I gotta let this go when they yell cut, and I go home, I gotta let this person go, because I think it can be potentially dangerous if you're too wrapped up in your character. But I like what you said about how it seems to me like, just doing the research on you and watching a lot of your past stuff and everything, you're really kind of finding that groove where you're coming into who you are as a person and feeling more comfortable sharing who you are as a person, right? And I think that plays so much into your shift in the music and how you approach characters, because now you do feel comfortable in your own skin, right? And so it does become less about, I get to escape and be this person, but now I can be me and play this person, right?
Yes, I would say that that's actually something that definitely developed over the last, I'd say like year and a half, but definitely for a little bit when I was younger, it was very much an escape. Not so much that it wasn't that I didn't know, but I think it was that. It's like I didn't know really who I was or what I needed to be. I still was very much discovering a lot of things, and also like not to bring in zodiac signs and stuff like that, but I'm a Gemini, which is known as being two-faced. And so I've got a lot of different personalities. And anybody who's been with me or knows me is like, oh my God, Kay, is this personality number six? And I'm like, I'm sorry. And so, but also I have researched that there's a lot of very successful actors that are Geminis as well. And it's because I am constantly moving through different characters inside of me, but I have been able to ground myself a little bit more now and the understanding of like who I am, who personality number two is, when she's coming out, why she's coming out. You know what I mean? Like
Oh,
the
for sure.
psychological journey has been
I love that
fast.
you brand them personality number two. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
fantastic.
But are
Yeah.
you a May or a June Gemini? That's the question.
I'm a June Gemini.
Ah, I
Ah, there you
see. So
go.
you're a little bit more crazy. I'm a May Gemini, so I'm a little bit less tamed
I
down.
know. I
But
saw you go like this, and I was like, okay, we have another Gemini in the room
oh,
then.
for
Yeah.
sure, for sure. I wear that proudly. That is
Yeah.
for sure. So I mean, you have a lot on your plate, obviously, with the success of Way Home right now and trying to still stay on top of your musical career and trying to balance just everyday life, going to auditions and, being friendly with friends, trying to have relationship, all of these different things. How do you try to balance everything? Because mental health is a big thing for our podcast and us as individuals. So how do you balance being an actor and being a singer? And sometimes do you feel like one takes away from the other, or do you feel like they inspire each other?
I think that they very much inspire each other. I'd say that the one single that I do want to come out with soon, the name of it is called Ships in the Night. And I think it
Mm,
was actually very much inspired from Evelyn's story. It
Mm-hmm.
was something that I knew on a one-off I wanted to work with this producer, and he said, I'm leaving to go down to LA, but if you can meet tonight at 5 p.m., then we can maybe put something together. And so that morning I woke up and I thought about a poem, and that's when Ships in the Night was kind of inspired. And so we kind of, when we made it, I was like, oh shoot, this is actually what needs to happen. Like this is the move. And I
yeah.
think that when I was like a little while back, I did actually become very overwhelmed with it all, and
Mm-hmm.
I did have to take some time away from everything just because I wasn't sure how to put everything together. And I had so many big ideas, and I'm huge for just like wanting to pursue them all, but then you kind of just get burnt out.
Yes.
Right.
Definitely now have more of an ebb and flow, and becoming a little bit more aware of like life is actually quite long and you have a lot of time and you can accomplish everything that you want to accomplish. And so you don't need, it's like that one quote in Vienna by Billy Joel, but it's like,
Mm-hmm.
slow down, you're doing fine. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Like
Yeah.
Vienna waits for you. And I think like you're so, what is it? Slow down, you crazy child. You're so ambitious for a juvenile. Like you're so
Exactly.
smart. Why are you still so afraid? And I feel like that's kind of where I'm at, where I'm like, yeah, like I have lots of time, and the things also like everything happens for a reason. So your life is going to develop and move the way that it's supposed to. So I very much just give it up to the
Yeah.
world now. Like I'm literally just like whatever. Because also like the way home, I didn't even know about it until a week before. I remember like I had sent in the callback, and then I started following Sadie, and I saw that she posted the first day on set of season 3. And I remember I saw it and went, oh, I didn't get it because I didn't hear anything. So I went to go get my hair done. And I'm literally, I have foils in my hair being like, all right, new era, that's fine. And then my agent texts me and she's like, you got the way home. And I was like, what? Oh
Wait,
my God.
what?
And they're like, yeah, you need to be on set in 3 days. And I was like, oh God. Like, so so then you're like, oh, and at that time I think I was definitely going in a different direction, like 100%. And then I was like, okay, I got to reel that in because that's not what's important. That's not what I need to focus on anymore. This is what's important right now, you know?
Right.
So it's about being like intuitive enough to know where you need to focus your energy, and like when is the time to go and have a rest, and when do you need to see your friends because they heal you and you love them and your family. Like it's very like one thing always leads to the next, you know?
So much to unpack there because we are very much along that line of the way of thinking as well and how we do it, right? One, everything that you said, everything happens for a reason. We are firm believers in that. I'm also a firm believer in if you're headed down the wrong way, the universe picks you up and puts you back. It's like, no, we've got a plan for you and you're supposed to be over here. And every time you try to go over here, I'm going to put you back over here, right? And another thing I think that's so important, and I love that you listened to yourself. You were intuitive enough to know, I need to take a break and figure this because you do have a long time and life is not linear. It's not a straight line. It's not, I'm going to do this, and this. Sometimes it's, oops, I'm going to plan over here, but then this happens and I've got to go over there. And that's
Well,
okay.
it's just like the way home. Like I
Exactly.
do believe that time is almost like this. It's like time traveling.
Without
And I
doubt.
don't know if I'm whatever. I just found out from one of our writers that she actually wrote the beginning of The Way Home 10 years ago.
Oh
And
wow.
she went to pitch it, and somebody heard it and they said, this makes no sense. No. And she said, like, she was like, I did a horrible job at pitching it. I don't think I really knew what it was.
Right.
But then I think someone came back to her and was like, wait, what we need is we need a show. They're looking for a show that's like, This Is Us. And she was like, well, there's something that I wrote like 10 years ago, maybe this. And then now it's this beautiful piece.
Mm,
So if we think about it, it's almost like this idea conspired 10 years ago, was left in a time capsule, and now it's brought to life. And it's something that obviously like the human collective needs
yep.
right now. And that's the way things are, right? Like
Oh,
I think best
absolutely.
artists are, it's you're listening to what the collective needs to hear, you know?
I have a couple of quick questions for you, and I'm sure Logan does too. But about your music and your shift in away from the pop and more into the indie and one, do you write your own lyrics? I'm assuming you write your own lyrics, and okay, I love that. And then I can't escape, and maybe this is because of the Evie vision, the way you look in the 70s and just your vibe. You're very now having this conversation and your very spiritual vibe and the way you approach things, but you scream Stevie Nicks to me. And then I saw your TikTok and you're playing a bunch of Fleetwood Mac music and I'm like, yes. If they ever do a biopic pick about young Stevie Nicks, it should be you. That's
That
all
would
I'm
be amazing.
saying. That's all I'm saying because you scream that. And I love that you're kind of channeling and going in a direction that's a bit more indie and a more different away from, because I think you're probably going to excel there. You just have that whole look and vibe going and yeah. Yeah, I think you're going to slay. Honestly.
Thank you.
You're
Yeah, it is
welcome.
interesting. The pop stuff, like it was more of just I was like, you know what, if I can, then I might, because also like doing music theater, it's very I think that I always think about like a big performance, and I think about like I went through dancing too and stuff
Right.
like that. And so I was like, with pop, you get to dance. So that was what I had in my mind to begin with. But I'm like, no, I guess like with indie stuff, you get to dance too, and it's way more grounded and it's more real. So I'm hoping that I can tap into something. But it's scary, guys. It's scary. I don't want to, you know.
And it should be. It should be
Yeah.
scary.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is all very scary. And I mean, speaking of scary, First day on set, I'm sure that was absolutely terrifying because, you're coming into season 3 of The Way Home, and this is already established, well-oiled machine. Everybody's been around for a while. Of course, you've had people pop in and out, but what was your first initial feelings when walking to your first day on set?
Um, Definitely I was nervous,
Mm-hmm.
but I honestly, the moment I stepped on set, Ago, who is the first AD,
Mm-hmm.
just had this big smile and was like, "Welcome to the way home."
That's
And all
awesome.
of a sudden, I just felt at home. Like, I don't know how to say it any other way. And I do remember, I think, texting my mom being like, "Oh man, like, this is a really good set. This is going to be
Mm,
a really great experience." Because I have had other experiences where I don't know. It didn't feel good, but
Mm-hmm.
but it's a job, so you have to do it.
right.
So I think, and honestly, like it kind of doing a job that doesn't feel great, but being forced to do it really does stop you from that track. Like then you're like, I don't think I want to act anymore. Like if this is what it feels like, then I don't want that. So I think stepping into this, I was a little bit worried, but it was amazing. And I think that like the moment I met Sadie, she just yeah, she felt familiar, and she does such a good job at guiding everybody because she's been the lead of the show for the last now 3 seasons
Right.
Right.
in her life. She's been on the show since she was like 20, I think. So it's like a part of her heart and her soul. And so for her to kind of just, it felt like a big warm hug. So I really wasn't too nervous, although I was very nervous because Evelyn talks a lot. Obviously, so do I. But being able to like memorize somebody else who talks and
Yeah.
trying to figure out their talking pattern, like I was like, ah, and like if you notice, like it's always Evelyn talking and Sadie just Alice just looking at her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
and
like
some of Alice's looks at her crack me up. It's like, wait, what are you saying? But I first of all, we were literally just having a conversation off camera before we started recording this about how, when people first approach it, and even when I describe it to people at first, it's like, oh no, it's really cool. It's time travel and it's kind of supernatural, maybe even a little witchcraft and everything. But at its core, at its sole crux of the show, it's family. It's about a family and family relationships and family dynamic. And so to have it be described by you as that on set, that's why I think it translates so well to the audience. There's a connectability there because that is a family portraying this family on camera, and you feel like, at least I do, and people I know that watch it, when I'm watching it, I feel as though I'm a part of the family. I'm sitting around Dell's table and I need to know what's going on, right? and
yeah.
and the other thing for you that I think was just because, like you said, and Logan, I'm glad you brought it up because sometimes walking into a well-oiled machine that's been there for 3, 4, 5 years or whatever, you're kind of like, oh, now I got to figure out how I fit into this. But with Evelyn, we saw maybe briefly once when she's threatened to, charge Elliot and Kat, right? And
Yeah.
and it was brief. So you get to create Evelyn, unlike the other characters who had to follow along because we had already seen the adult versions of them and a lot of the adult versions of them. And we're like, oh, okay, we know who these people are. But Evelyn, we saw for a brief second. So we really don't know who Evelyn really was as an adult. So you got to play with that a little bit. And I'm thinking, how awesome is that? Because if we do see adult Evelyn again prior to, well, spoilers for anybody, but her death, the actress will have to mimic you, which is a real, right? Talk about that and what kind of process
It's
that
pretty
was.
cool. Honestly, I would say that what also kind of helped too is that because Evelyn was talked about and the Goodwins are talked about so much, then I didn't feel so much like a stranger. It's
Mm,
very strange
yeah,
because her legacy already exists, and because also like the fans are following the show. It it wasn't as like a strange to join. If anything, everybody was like, "Thank God we found somebody that was exactly what needed to be Evelyn." And so it was like people just kind of took me in, and I was like,
yeah,
"Okay, cool." But to your point, yeah, I didn't go off of really anything besides like probably like a version of myself that's just like a little bit lighter and thinking about what I would be like if I was in the 70s, and being able to really play around. And I did say, like, I remember when we sat down the first time I met Julie and Jordan, we went out to lunch before. We had even met on set, and
Yeah.
they were like, oh my God, I have been freaking out because I've just been watching a whole bunch of interviews of Andy McDowell and Jefferson, and I need to like get down, and I'm just so scared. And I remember sitting there being like, thank God I don't have to like copy anybody because that would be terrifying. It would be
Yeah.
terrifying to have to like mimic Andy McDowell, who is such a big name. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
So I'm
But
like, thank God, you know?
you guys nail it though.
They
They are
do. Yeah,
terrifying. How literally eerie how good they are at mimicking them. Like
I know.
like you said with Andy, those mannerisms and those little things that she does with her eyes and everything. So to watch Julia do it, it's like
Oh, I have like
whoa.
goosebumps. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just it's. But the thing I like, and I'm curious on your take on this one, Logan, is the Goodwins, like you said, establish history, right? But they're not, people don't like them, right? Because they've really kind of established that the Goodwins are the bad guys, right? Nah, the Augustines have some issues, but the Goodwins are the bad guys. And nobody likes Cyrus, everybody. But then here comes young Evelyn, and she's adorable. You're rooting for her, right? It seems like every episode she's getting her heart crushed, and she's just this free spirit that wants to love and be loved, and you know the way you play her, you go, oh, well, that's why she's so damn bitter as an adult, and what kind of goes down because she's being trampled on.
She gets knocked down and she gets back up again, but then
Yeah.
she gets knocked down. Like it's even moving in through episode 9, like it's she continuously goes, okay, I'm at the bottom of the hill, I'm gonna work back up to the top of the hill, I'm gonna try again, and everything's gonna be okay. And she's got such a like strong, motivated spirit. But I think even we're all wondering too, and we'll see if we have another season. They kind of talk about a little bit like if there is continuing to understand why or how Evelyn completely does end up the way that she ends up, which is pretty crazy. The thing was is that I didn't watch The Way Home before I did my first interview. I just
Oh.
read it and was like, oh, it takes place in the 70s. Cool. This is how I'd play her. And
Right.
so then when I was then watching the show after I got a call back, and then later on once I actually was on set, I was like, oh shoot, no one likes the Goodwins,
Yeah.
but that's okay because even inside of Evelyn, like when she's there at the Ouija board and she goes to
Yes.
Colton, like, oh, maybe we can find something out about our founding fathers. Like she has such a curiosity in understanding what her family lineage is, which is really beautiful.
Yeah.
And so it is kind of sad that her family lineage is like they're mean people. So that's unfortunate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. It always sucks. That's always the terrifying thing to do, like ancestry or anything like that. You go back and realize your people suck. Like you never want that. You never want that. But I'm a big fashion person and I love period pieces. So
Mm.
I was obviously curious, what was that like trying to figure out and work with the costume designer to try to figure out what the 70s version of you was going to look like? And then were there any pieces of articles of clothing that you would possibly might have wanted to take home?
Yeah, I do remember the very first day when I went in, they already had like a mood board and everything set up. It was very
Nice.
mix. And then we would try on a whole bunch of articles of clothing. Our costume people have been around forever, so I think I tried on something that like Uma Thurman wore at one point.
Oh, cool.
But
Wow.
she's a big Amazon woman, whereas like I'm only like 5'3", so they're like, "Hey, it's not fit." I was like, "Damn it, I love this!" Anyways, but being able to try on all the clothes and stuff like that was really fun, and then kind of having my little 2 cents of being like, I like this more than the other thing, which is
Right, exactly.
new. But I loved it. Like if I could, then I would totally live in the 70s. But my biggest thing is that I'm not huge for wearing skirts, but Evelyn loves to wear her skirts. And
Yeah.
Right.
so at the beginning, I was like, oh, is there a way that we can do like a pant thing or stuff like that? And they're like, no, I think that you'll really enjoy the skirts. And now watching it, like, I love the fact that she's so flowy and that, when she walks, her skirts follow her. I think there's a couple scenes where I'm wearing pants, but the skirt idea was like beautiful.
Yeah.
The one article of clothing that I wish that I kept would be the white dress that you
Mm.
get introduced with her the very first time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not the one I heard the pawn, but the one where I don't know, it's got like all those layers and it's very embroidered and stuff. Like it's
Hmm.
gorgeous. It really gives fairy vibes. But I was not able to keep
Yeah,
anything.
when they're at the
Oh.
bonfire, right? You're talking about when they're at the bonfire when we yeah, yeah, that's a
Yeah.
great piece. Yeah, nobody wants that one at the pond because that's bad. Man, what a brutal scene that was. Alice was, I posted it on social media, but Alice was just savage. Like that, there's a way to say it, and that wasn't it. Like,
Well, I know, but also like, could you imagine? Like, honestly, even when I saw that shot too, I'm like, oh my god, it looks like I'm dead. And then
yeah,
for her,
yeah.
I remember when me and Sadie talked about that scene too. We were like, oh my god, she's so dramatic. This is crazy. And for me to be down in the pond and then coming up and be like, you know what I mean? Like, no, I'm like, she's just getting into a role, which
Yeah,
is very
yeah.
silly and insane. But I do understand Alice's reaction. Like, she
Right,
loves Evelyn, and obviously everybody knows that's not where Evelyn dies.
right,
So,
right.
but I get it. But honestly, I think honestly, when I watched that scene again, I was like, that's pretty crazy. For Sadie to talk to me like that,
Yeah, yeah. When
pretty
she's just like,
hard.
he is
Hard.
never going to love you the way you want him to. Like, move on. But when you think about it, though, it's such great writing and storytelling because think about the dilemma that Alice must be in. Because, like you said, she loves Evelyn. She's realizing now that everything she's ever heard about Evelyn is not true. That she was this beautiful spirit and this beautiful soul and just was living life. And she really likes her. But she also knows that Dell is the one. So how do you confront that? You've got that, oh my gosh, I'm rooting for you, but I can't root for you because I know what's supposed to happen kind of a thing. That's got to be really tough in Alice's situation. So the way Sadie approached that, I thought that was really good. A couple of questions though, and I'm sure because there's so many fan theories out there. And I don't know if you have your own fan theory because, I think I saw something about how you guys don't know until you see the script too. You're kind of following along the same way. But because Evelyn was laid down in the pond, it just kind of not even worried about being tugged under to somewhere else kind of a thing. We know that she's at least aware of and that she believes in the stories of the pond, that it's
Yeah.
a realistic possibility. And even though Colton is totally trying to dodge that, even though he's been full of shady shit, but she's still like, no, you have to believe it's probably true. I personally don't think, though, that Evie has ever time traveled. I think that she believes that it's possible and that, but unlike Colton, who's lied about it, I don't think Evie's actually ever done it yet.
This is the thing. Yet we don't know, because also the writers like, like whenever I talk to them, I'm like, what's gonna happen? And they sit there and they come up with all these theories, right? So they don't even know yet, really,
See,
because
I
they
love
haven't
that.
had the time to sit down, and it can go any way, which is really cool. But I do know that there was a point when me and Jordan would talk to each other as we'd get each episode, and we're like, she's a time traveler. She must be a time traveler. Even
Right.
that one scene where she like walks to the front and she's saying like 65, still alive, wish they died. And it's like, are you going to jump in? And she's like, no, I would never do it without you. And I'm like, okay, like, are they hinting at something there? Or is it just because Evelyn just believes in magic and she listened to Fern? And
Right.
so she has that kind of like extraterrestrial feeling about it. Maybe like she might just be like a little bit witchy and have a little bit of intuition. But is she a time traveler? I don't know.
But you bring up a good point because they do lay down plot lines like that. Like the adult appearance of Evelyn when she is threatening the charges, right? I went back and I watched that scene and now it hits so much more because when Dell says, don't do it for me, do it for Colton. It didn't even register when she said, do it for Colton the first time you watch that scene. And then when Evelyn responds, well, now you owe me one as if you didn't already. Well, that's clearly a reference that you took her man. And so, like, that was clearly intentional, clearly laid out that they knew something like that was. So you might be right about how that might have been a hint when she's singing that little song about maybe. So I don't know.
I know.
Do you
And I
want her
think
to be a time traveler?
oh my God, yes. I would love for her to be a time traveler. I'm actually really sad that like as things kept progressing, I was like, what the heck, man? But I'm excited that at least I got to go into the pond.
Yes.
And I got my little like pond plunger award, which was so cute. We
Yes.
got given those at the wrap party, which was really nice. Because honestly, the pond is really cold, so it's worth the award. But it would be really cool to travel. So I don't know. There's so much more like if there is another season, there is so much more for them to discover and
Mm.
move through. So we'll see, you know?
Yes, most definitely. Most definitely. Well, this has been an amazing conversation, and we normally like to wrap these conversations up with a popcorn questions. It's just five little questions that gets the audience to able to get to know you a little bit more, get to know your personality, even though your personality is so bubbly and it's so light and fresh to the world of hatred and burning down and all the things. So we need more people like you, but I think we're gonna have fun with these questions. I think you're gonna have a lot of good answers. The first one being, what do you think in your first season of The Way Home? What do you think was the funniest moment or the most memorable moment on set?
Um, Let me think here. Damn, there's so much. Okay, so I always think like the Ouija board was a lot of fun, and we were actually very terrified, and we got to have all four of us. So there's this scene where Delilah gets introduced at the very beginning at the beach.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's always super memorable because that is when we very much just were getting to know each other
Mhm.
and getting to know each other's characters and stuff like that. So that's extremely memorable. But I think that the Ouija board was just really fun and really funny because it's like it's first of all, people were like, oh my god, what if we actually summon a ghost? Like this is really terrifying. Like we have to do our research. Like we don't want this thing to come home with us.
Yeah, yeah.
But then later on, like kind of just having, someone had to literally speak and be like, okay, wind gusts. And we're all like, what? And so like doing that over and over and over again was just really funny because now we're just really, really make believing.
Right?
Right
Literally.
there make believing that we're all these characters in the 70s and now there's a ghost in our presence, So that was
Yeah,
really fun.
absolutely. Did it ever move on its own at least once at all? Come on, tell us. No. You're not going to share, huh? He's like, no, I ain't bringing it home. We just talked about that at the beginning about not bringing work home, so we don't want to do that one.
No.
Okay, I'm interested in this one because you've kind of hinted at a bunch of different things. But if you could actually live inside any television show or movie, which one would it be and why?
Oh my goodness. What? Any television show or movie.
Yeah.
Okay, well, right now I am like on the track of watching the newest season of The White Lotus.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
But I know that that never turns out good. So I'm like, I
Never.
don't know if I
Never.
want to be inside of the world of White
Like,
Lotus because it's really twisted. Something else that I always think about though when people talk about The Way Home and time travel is Doctor Who, and I know that that's so
Mm.
funny, but I was a huge Doctor Who fan when I was little. I haven't watched it in a really long time, but I think that would be a really cool show to live in real life and be like Doctor Who's companion
Oh
and
yeah.
be see the dialect and like go to different space and like different, you know what I mean, like different universes and different planets. Like
Yeah.
that would be a cool show to be in. It's infinite and endless,
I love
and
that.
meeting aliens would be so cool. I don't know.
Yeah. I love that someone your age even references Doctor Who, which is fantastic. And let's be honest about it. Every time you pass a phone booth, you're thinking about it, right? There's only one of two things you think about: Superman or Doctor Who. It's like it's so iconic. I love
Yeah.
that. I love that answer.
That's funny. If there could be anyone that you could work with, who would it be?
Oh no.
Living or dead, just anyone.
Living or dead. I know you're a big Barbara Streisand fan, so I wouldn't have been surprised if it was going to be her, but
That's true. I love Barbara Streisand. Now I don't know. I think I'd have to. Who would I really love to work with? I feel like I just like people just keep on like stepping into my life. Like even
hmm
getting to meet Annie McDowell and chatting with her was really cool.
Oh, well.
This is a weird one, and I don't know why I want to say this. This is so, but like I have been saying that I really want to meet Miley Cyrus. I know that that's so
Nice.
strange, but that's been something. I don't know why Miley Cyrus, but I had like a weird like when I was younger, we can't stop and all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I think, and also like watching her grow up through Hannah Montana. And I don't know, I never really like necessarily idolized her, but I think that Miley Cyrus as a person is really cool. And it'd be cool to chat with her, work
Oh
with
yeah, especially with who she is now and the growth that she's overcome. And I would love to see her what she would be like as an actor now.
Yeah.
What would her roles be? I think that'd be so curious.
Because she's
her. Yeah.
so authentic, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you've seen her, like you said, you saw her grow up through Hannah Montana, but you saw the whole world saw everything that poor girl went through. So to come
Yeah.
out of it on the other side and be so real and authentic about it, of who she is, right? Wow. I think you
Yeah,
guys.
that's kind of cool. Also, another one, Lady Gaga would be really cool. I think these are people more
Yes.
that I would like love to meet, like sit down and just chat with.
For sure.
But I
Yeah,
don't know. That's a great question though. I'm gonna have to think about that because I also feel like manifestation's huge. And now I'm like, who
Oh
without
would I
yeah.
doubt.
want to like actually work with acting wise? So I'm gonna think on that one.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah, well, it's just a reason to have you back on.
Exactly.
Okay, so now we're gonna do the little Barbara Walters moment and get deep. If you could go back and tell your 10-year-old self something, what would it be? What would you tell little 10-year-old Devin?
Oh no. I think I would just tell her to like keep keep being herself. Like I've I think like I lost my childhood spirit for a little bit there, and
Mm,
finding the childhood spirit again now is I think why I like feel like I'm a lot lighter and stuff. So if anything, like I would say thank you to 10-year-old Devin
mm,
because she has always been the core of who I am, and being able to tap into her and her like persistence and her joy and her clarity. Like I think that me at 10 very much was very clear of like I love to do this thing and I'm going to keep on wanting to do it for the rest of my life. And then as you get older, then you get lost in life, really.
yeah.
So if anything, I'd say thank you and I'd say keep going, really.
And sometimes that little 10-year-old inner child is still a part of you. Sometimes you really do need to revisit the inner child to be an adult, right? I love
Yeah.
that. I love that you said that. That's beautiful.
Yes, it really is. It really is. I'm crying over here. You're making me.
She was
You're
supposed
making
to
me
cry, man, not you.
Crying.
Come on.
overwhelmed with
Emotions are
emotions.
high.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
What's in your cup,
But
bro? Come on.
yeah, exactly. But we are here, the fifth and final question, and maybe the most question of the entire interview. Probably not, but that's okay.
Oh, there's Peanut.
Are you happy with your career so far?
So far, yes. I think so. I think it can only keep on moving in different directions. And in the last week, I've had some really cool auditions that I love a lot. But everything is crossing your fingers. And I think it's about never losing faith or hope. So
Mm,
being like, oh my God, this would be so amazing if I booked this. And then not hearing back, but then being like, don't worry, there's another one around the corner. So
Mm,
I think it's all about perspective. And I think right now my perspective is really good. And so I'm happy in that frame. So
oh,
that's right.
nice.
okay.
That's awesome.
Just you have been an absolute gem to talk to, by the way. I just
Yes.
your personality, your approach to life, how centered you are, and just everything, the way you're living, you're doing it right, and we love to talk to people like that. You just absolute gem. Um, I got to tell you, I feel pretty confident. Not that I have any inside sources or any knowledge whatsoever, but I feel pretty confident season 4 is probably going to happen. It seems to have a pretty good fan base. It's doing
I
pretty
think
well.
so.
I
They'd
think
be crazy if they didn't renew it. They would be
I
crazy.
would
So,
agree. And my hope is that maybe we're a little bit later in the 70s or maybe even a little early 80s, and can Evelyn sing? We
that
haven't
would be
seen Evelyn sing, and you can
that would
sing.
be so
I
sick.
mean,
That
you've
would be
said you
sick.
wanted to do both, right? Get a role where you could actually do both. And I
Yeah,
mean, this show screams for that. I'm just
it
saying.
does.
Maybe
It
that's how
does. We
she
can cross our
processes
fingers.
losing Colton. She says she puts her own stuff into music and moves forward or whatever. Just saying. Just saying.
Maybe. Yeah, it can really go every way. I'm really excited to see what happens. But yeah, they would be crazy if they don't renew. That is
Agreed.
100%.
Agreed.
Um, and it would be cool because that would be such a big dream come true for me is like doing something like singing for a TV show is
Oh
like
my
so
gosh, it would be
cool.
amazing. I think, and then just huge continued success. I hope that the Ships of the Night song goes every which way you want it to go. And when you get it out there, we will promote the hell out of it.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's all about supporting each other. That's how we all make the dream work and do what we do. So it's all about getting it out there and helping people do it.
I would just say I love that this is called Crazy Ant. Like it's a Crazy Ant podcast. It's so fun, and I love your shirt. Like the shirt is amazing, and I hope that you give them away. Like, do you sell them?
We will totally send you one. We will hook you up. We've got all kinds of merch, cups, everything. So yeah.
Cups,
yeah,
shirts,
whatever you want. If you want one with bonk on it,
so cool.
we've got all kinds of stuff. We will definitely make that happen for you. Yeah, that would be awesome. We'd love to see you wearing one.
Yeah.
But,
and it's all about social media. So where can people follow you as well?
Oh, I'm pretty much just Devin Cecchetto everywhere: Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. The TikToks have been fun recently. I've been like doing updates of like my outfits for every. I kind of forgot to do it, and then I only started doing it near the end.
Yeah.
But I've been keeping like updated on TikTok, which is cute with the way home.
Yeah, no, the TikTok videos are great. It just listen. Again, thank you so much for coming on. We have no doubt the listeners are going to love this. And you're just amazing, and continued success in whatever you do. And fingers crossed, we're all hoping season 4 and we get more of Evelyn.
Guys.
You're very welcome.
Woo. Thank you so much. We hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Thanks, guys.
Man, talk about a great guest for the first one back in 2025. Man, that was a great conversation.
Yeah, she's just a lot of fun. I just doing our research and looking back at some of her old stuff and all that, just you can see the progression. She's just like finding herself and just totally into her vibe now, and like, this is who I am, this is the direction I'm heading, and I love that, man. Anytime people y'all's age can figure it out and just kind of roll with it and go, I love that. And she clearly is on a path that's going to take her a lot of places.
Yes, completely agree. Thank you again, Devin, for coming on the show.